present our assignment on critical thinking. Critical thinking is the ability to analyze, evaluate, and understand information carefully before making conclusions. It helps in personal growth, decision making, and national development. Our presentation focuses on why many people, including educated individuals, still struggle to think critically, even though it is very important. Thank you. Critical thinking is widely regarded as one of the most important intellectual skills required for personal growth, democratic participation, specific advancements, and national development. The assignment question asks students to investigate a striking problem. If critical thinking is essential to the development, why do many people, including high educated individuals, struggle to think critically? The paper structure specifically requires an examination of social and explanation rather than a simple explanation of critical thinking. Critical thinking is mainly defined as a disciplined process of actively and skillfully conceptualizing, analyzing, evaluating, and information in order to reach justified conclusions. According to Richard Paul and Linda Elder, critical thinking defines the improving the quality of one's thinking by systematically assigning it against intellectual standards, such as clarity, accuracy, relevance, and fairness. Simply, Robert Ernst defines critical thinking as reasonable and reflective thinking focused on mainly what to do or what will be done. Despite widespread agreement on its importance, the ability to think critically remains difficult. Many educated individuals possess advanced qualifications, professional advancements, and interview knowledge, but still fall prey to misinformation. This apart condition suggestions that education alone does not automatically produce critical thinking. This means education alone cannot make a person critical thinker because the outcome world with education can make us critical thinker. Human is influenced by physiological biases, emotional attachments, and social pressures. That often undermine rational inquiries. These people argue that although critical thinking is indispensable for development, people find it difficult because human beings are naturally susceptible to biases, emotional reason, social conformity. Furthermore, many educational systems emphasize memorization and credential acquisition rather than reflective inquiries.
The case for critical thinking. Scholars and policymakers consistently emphasize critical thinking because it plays or it performs a central role in human and societal development. Development is not merely economic growth. It is also improving decision-making, innovation, democratic participation, scientific progress, and social problem solving. John Dewey, one of the pioneers of modern educational philosophy, argued in how we think, and that reflective thought is essential for intelligent action. Dewey believed that society's progress when citizens examine evidence, question assumptions, and engage in reflective inquiry rather than relying on habit or authority. For Dewey, education should cultivate reflective thinking because democratic societies mainly depend upon informed and thoughtful citizens. Harvey Segal similarly argues that education should develop rationality. In educating reason, he maintains that critical thinking enables or defines individuals to evaluate claims, justify beliefs, and make informed judgments. Without these capacities, citizens become vulnerable to manipulation by political propaganda, misinformation, and ideological extremism. Matthew Lipman also stressed the importance or the benefits critical thinking in education. According to Lippmann, students should be taught not merely what to think, but how to think. He argues that philosophical inquiry and dialogue help learners become more reflective, reasonable, and independent-minded. The significance of critical thinking becomes even clearer in modern information age. Individuals are constantly exposed to social media content, political narratives, advertisements, and competing claims. The ability to evaluate evidence critically helps people distinguish reliable information from misinformation. During public health crises, elections, and social conflicts, critical thinking becomes particularly important because poor reasoning or lack of reasoning can have serious consequences for individuals and societies. For an economic perspective, innovation depends heavily on critical thinking. Businesses and organizations require employees who can analyze problems, challenge assumptions, and generate creative solutions. Cognitive and psychological barriers. One of the most significant explanations lie in the nature of human cognition itself. Human beings are not naturally objective thinkers. Instead, they rely on mental shortcuts and cognitive mechanisms that often produce systematic errors in judgment. Daniel Kahneman's influential work Thinking, Fast and Slow provides valuable insight into the problem. Kahneman distinguishes between modes of thinking, System 1 and System 2. System 1 is fast, automatic, intuitive, and effortless. System 2 is slow, deliberate, analytical, and effortless. Although critical thinking depends largely on System 2, people frequently rely on System 1 because it conserves mental energy. As a result, individuals often make judgments based on intuition rather than careful analysis. This tendency contributes to several cognitive biases that interfere with critical thinking.
Tricks and mental shortcuts. Kahneman also discussed tricks, which are mental shortcuts used to simplify complex decisions. Although heuristics are often careful, they can produce systematic errors instantly. The ability of heuristics leaders to judge the likelihood of events based on how easy examples come to mind. Emotional reason. Human beings are emotional creatures, and emotional often shape judgment more powerful than facts. Emotional reason causes when people trust feeling as evidence. Instead of asking whether a crime is true, they ask whether it's true. Fear, anger, pride, loyalty can significantly distort reasoning. Political complaints, advertisements, and social media content frequently exploit emotional reactions because emotions can bypass rational evaluation. Even educated individuals may reject evidence that treatment their identity, value, or group. Media encourage. Individual may overestimate their frequency. Simply, the representativeness heritage encourage people to rather than objective evidence.
Why education is not just now? Being educated does not automatically make someone a critical thinker. Education may provide knowledge, skills, and qualification, but critical thinking requires more than academic resources. It requires curiosity, humanity, self-reflection, and open-mindedness. Some educated individuals become overconfident and assume they know everything. This intellectual arrogance provides them from questioning themselves or accepting correction.
Beyond psychological limitations, education and social environments also shape thinking habits. In many educational systems, success is measured primarily through examination that reward memorization. Students are often expected to reproduce information rather than evaluate, question, or challenge it. As a result, learners may be highly skilled at recalling facts without They learn what to think rather than how to think. Such educational practices face graduates who possess credentials but lack intellectual independence. Dowley criticized educational approach that emphasized passive absorption of information. He argued that genuine learning occurs through inquiry, reflection, and problem solving, rather.
Critical thinking should be improved through deliberate efforts. Schools should encourage debate, discussions, case studies, problem solving instead of pure memorization. Students should also learn logic, fallacies, cognitive biases so that they can identify weak arguments and misinformation. We must also learn to promote intellectual humility and the willingness to admit mistakes and change our mind when evidence proves us wrong. Exposure to diverse perspectives can reduce bias and strengthen reasoning.
Echo chambers in social media. Modern technology has created new obstacles to critical thinking. Social media algorithms often expose users to information that align with their existing preferences. Over time, individuals become surrounded by like-minded, respective false alternative viewpoints are filtered out.
I go by the name Sandradu Tumfo. In conclusion, critical thinking is essential for development because it improves judgment, innovations, and decision making. However, many people struggle because of cognitive biases, emotions, social pressure, and weak educational systems. Therefore, education alone is not enough. True development happens when people learn to think independently and make rational decisions. Thank you for listening.